Shalom, everyone. If you like this video, subscribe with us to YouTube. Thank you.
Multiple wives, polygyny exposed, the jealous wife. Yeah, here we go. Just the internet world off today. Multiple wives, polygyny exposed, the jealous wife. So we go basically, here's some precepts and get an understanding on multiple wives. Can we do it now? Can we not do it now? And what's the laws on it? So let's jump right into it. So go to Genesis 4. This don't even need an introduction. We just go jump right into it. So we're gonna talk about, so the people that do go in multiple wives, their main thesis is that multiple wives was in the Old Testament, and they give you 1,000,000 scriptures and examples of people before Moses and during Moses who had multiple wives. So we go verify that. So let's do that with verse 19. Genesis 4 and 19. This is the first instance of multiple wives from a descendant of Cain.
Genesis chapter 4 and verse 19. And Lamech took unto him 2 wives. The name of the one was Adah, and the name of the other Zillah.
So this is the first instance of multiple wives in Genesis. Go to 1 Samuel. Chapter 1, verse 1.
1 Samuel chapter 1 and verse 1. Now there was a certain man of Ramathim of Mount Ephraim, and his name was Elkanah, the son of Jeroham, the son of Elihu, the son of Tahu, the son of Zuph, an Ephraimite.
He was from tribe of Ephraim, right?
And he had 2 wives. The name of the one was Hannah, and the name of the other Peninnah. And Peninnah had children, but Hannah had no children.
So that's another example of 2 wives. Go to chapter 30. First Samuel chapter 30. Let's read verse 5.
1 Samuel chapter 30 and verse 5. And David's 2 wives were taken captive. Anoam, the Jezreelite, and Abigail, the wife of Nabal, the Carmelite. And David was greatly distressed, for the people spake of stoning him, because the soul of all the people was grieved, every man for his sons and for his daughters. But David encouraged himself in the Lord of God. The Lord of his God.
So there's David, going with David with multiple wives. Go to 2 Chronicles chapter 13. We'll get one more. 2 Chronicles chapter 13, verse 21.
2 Chronicles chapter 13 and verse 21. But Abijah waxed mighty and married 14 wives.
So he had 14 wives, right?
And begat 22 sons and 16 daughters. And the rest of the acts of Abijah, his ways and his sayings are written in the story of the prophet Edu.
So this is another one. He had 14 wives. 14 wives. So our point for hitting all scriptures is just to show and verify, yes, there was multiple wives before Moses and during Moses. That was our only point to hit that story. So now let's get a prophecy. Go to Deuteronomy 18. Deuteronomy 18 and start at 15.
Deuteronomy chapter 18 and verse 15. The Lord thy God will raise up unto thee a prophet from the midst of thee, of thy brethren, like unto me. Unto him ye shall hearken, according to all that thou desirest of the Lord thy God in Horeb, in the day of the assembly, saying, Let me not hear again the voice of the Lord my God, neither let me see this great fire any more, that I die not.
So it said, my bad, read verse 15 again.
Verse 15. The Lord thy God will raise up unto thee a prophet from the midst of thee, of thy brethren, like unto me. Unto him ye shall hearken.
It said, so Moses prophesied that a prophet was going to be raised up, and unto him, that's who you listen to. I'm going to raise thee up a prophet, and unto him is the one you listen to. This is Moses speaking. Jump to verse 18.
Verse 18. I will raise them up a prophet from among their brethren, like unto thee, and will put my words in his mouth, and he shall speak unto them all that I shall command him. And it shall come to pass that whosoever will not hearken unto my words, which he shall speak in my name, I'll require it of him.
So he said, this prophet, he gonna speak my words. And whoever don't listen to this prophet, death. This is prophecy. Go to Matthew 17. Matthew 17, start at 1.
Matthew chapter 17 and verse 1. And after 6 days, Jesus taketh Peter, James, and John, his brother, and bringing them up into a high mountain apart, and was transfigured before them. And his face did shine as the sun, and his raiment was white as the light. And behold, there appeared unto them Moses and Elias talking with him. Then answered Peter and said unto Jesus, Lord, it is good for us to be here. If thou wilt, let us make here 3 tabernacles, one for thee, and one for Moses, and one for Elias.
So Christ is transfigured in front of Peter. And when he was transfigured, they also seen Moses and Elijah come. Go ahead.
While he yet spake, behold, a bright cloud overshadowed them. And behold, a voice out of the cloud, which said, This is my beloved son.
So a voice came out the cloud that Peter heard him speaking, and he said, This is my beloved son. Go ahead.
In whom I am well pleased. Hear ye him.
Say, hear ye him. This is my son who you supposed to listen to. This is my son who's gonna come with my words to teach y'all. And whatever he give, whatever he speak, that's what you do. Go to Acts 3. Read 22.
Acts chapter 3 and verse 22. For Moses truly said unto the fathers, A prophet shall the Lord your God raise up unto you of your brethren, like unto me. Him shall ye hear in all things.
Say, him shall ye hear in all things. It said, this is what Moses said. It said, Moses truly said unto the fathers, he gonna raise up a prophet. He the one that you hear in all things. Go ahead.
Whatsoever he shall say unto you. And it shall come to pass that every soul which will not hear that prophet shall be destroyed from among the people.
And whoever don't listen to this prophet is going to be destroyed from the people. This is what was prophesied from Moses. Who was that in Matthew 17? We seen that was Christ. We seen that was Christ. He's the one, he's the lawgiver. He's the one that give us understanding of the word. He's the one that gives us that understanding of the kingdom. He's the one that gives us understanding of the laws. It say, listen to him. Go to Luke chapter 6. And the reason why I'm showing this is because our brothers and sisters that believe in multiple wives, they steady go to Moses. We already know multiple wives was permitted before Moses and during Moses. We understand that. You don't have to show 1 million husbands with multiple wives in the Old Testament. That's not necessary. That's not a point of debate. Well, let me say this. That shouldn't be a point of debate because it's proven. Go to Luke 6, read 46.
Luke chapter 6 and verse 46. And why call ye me Lord?
So this is Christ speaking. Go ahead.
Lord, and do not the things which I say.
He said, why you call me Lord and do not the things that I say? This is the problem. This is the problem when people say, show me in the law. Show me in the Torah that we can't do this. Show me in the Torah that we can't do that. The whole book is the law. It's called, the Bible is called the book of the law. So to these same people that they don't see nothing as doctrine or law if it's outside the first 5 books, Christ said this. Read that again.
Luke chapter 6 and verse 46. And why call ye me Lord, Lord, and do not the things which I say?
Go ahead.
Whosoever cometh to me and heareth my sayings and doeth them, I will show you to whom he is like.
Go ahead.
He is like a man which built a house and dig deep and laid the foundation on a rock. And when the flood arose and the stream beat vehemently upon the house and could not shake it, for it was founded upon a rock. But he that heareth and doeth not.
So it's for the people that hear Christ's words and don't do them,
is like a man that without a foundation built an house upon the earth, against which the stream did beat vehemently, and immediately it fell, and the ruin of that house was great.
so we can't call Christ Lord and then you have to, the only thing you believe is law is in the first 5 books of Moses. That don't make sense, because Moses said, if you don't listen to him, you're going to be destroyed. He didn't say don't listen to me. He said this prophet going to be raised up. If you don't listen to him, you're going to be destroyed from among the people. What about that part of Moses? Go to Matthew 5. So let's get an example. Matthew 5 and 33.
Matthew chapter 5 and verse 33. Again, ye have heard that it hath been said by them of old time, thou shalt not forswear thyself, but shalt perform unto the Lord thine oath.
So that's in the law, the commandments. Whatever you swear, you have to do. You have to do all your oaths. This is in the law. But what Christ say, 34.
But I say unto you, swear not at all.
So Christ said, don't swear at all. So now that's the law. Don't swear at all. So now if you don't listen to that, now that's a sin. Now you have to listen to Christ. Christ is over Moses. It's not the other way around. So Moses said, the Most High told Moses, okay, if they swear, they have to perform it. The Most High told Christ to tell them, look, don't swear at all. Finish that up 34.
But I say unto you, swear not at all, neither by heaven, for it is God's throne,
35.
nor by the earth, for it is his footstool, neither by Jerusalem, for it is the city of the great king. Neither shalt thou swear by thy head, because thou canst not make one hair white or black. But let your communication be yea, yea, nay, nay, for whatsoever is more than these cometh of evil.
So now that's the new law. That's the example. So Moses said, this new prophet that's gonna come, he trumps me. What he say, hearken to him. I say if you swear, you must perform. Christ said don't swear at all. That's the new commandment about swearing. Go to verse 31.
Verse 31. It hath been said, whosoever shall put away his wife, let him give her a writing of divorcement.
It said, when it said it had been said, what it's talking about, Moses. Verse 32.
But I say unto you,
He said, but I say unto you,
that whosoever shall put away his wife, saving for the cause of fornication, causeth her to commit adultery. And whosoever shall marry her that is divorced, committeth adultery.
So now that's the law. At first you can put away your wife for anything, but you just give her a bill of divorce. But Christ say, I say unto you, you can't divorce her except it be for fornication. So now that's the law. Remember, the prophet, whoever don't listen to this prophet will be destroyed from among his people. There's no need to bring up 100 husbands with multiple wives during the time of Moses. If Christ says something different, it's not proving anything. It's not proving anything. Now let's get an understanding on adultery. Go to Deuteronomy 22. Let's get an understanding on adultery. Read 22.
Deuteronomy chapter 22 and verse 22. If a man be found lying with a woman married to a husband, then they shall both of them die, both the man that lay with the woman and the woman. So shalt thou put away evil from Israel.
So it says, if a man be found lying with a woman married, that's adultery. Go to Leviticus 20. Verse 10.
Leviticus chapter 20 and verse 10. And the man that committeth adultery with another man's wife, even he that committeth adultery with his neighbor's wife, the adulterer and the adulteress shall surely be put to death.
So adultery is when a man lay down with a married woman. This is a clear understanding. Everybody should have this understanding about adultery. Adultery is when a man lays down with a married woman. That's adultery. Adultery is always against men. You can say a God, because every sin is against God too. But adultery was always against men. Adultery is never against a wife. It's never against a wife. This is the understanding during Moses. Adultery is never against a wife. It's always against the man. This is that's what we just read in Deuteronomy 22, Leviticus 20. Go to Exodus 20. Let's prove it. Exodus 20 and 14.
Exodus chapter 20 and verse 14. Thou shalt not commit adultery.
Say, thou shalt not commit adultery. Jump to 17.
Verse 17. Thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's house.
It say covet means desire. Don't desire your neighbor's house or what else.
Thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's wife.
And don't covet thy neighbor's wife. This is going into the adultery. Adultery, if you desire your neighbor's wife. Adultery was always against men. When you can have multiple wives, adultery couldn't be against a wife. Because they had multiple wives. Adultery couldn't be against a wife. Adultery in the scriptures was always against men. Let's get some more. Go to Matthew 5. Go back to Matthew 5. And read 27.
Matthew chapter 5 and verse 27. Ye have heard that it was said by them of old time, thou shalt not commit adultery.
You said, you have heard, thou shalt not commit adultery. We just read that in Exodus 20 and 14. Verse 28.
Verse 28. But I say unto you, that whosoever looketh on a woman,
On who?
but whosoever looketh on a woman,
Whoever look on a woman. Now who look on a man, look on a woman. Go ahead.
to lust after her, hath committed adultery with her already in his heart.
So adultery was always against the husband of that woman. His wife committed adultery against him, and another man, his neighbor, committed adultery against him. So adultery is always against the men. Go to Ezekiel 16. Ezekiel 16. So this is the understanding of adultery. Give verse 38.
Ezekiel 16 and verse 38. And I will judge thee as woman that break wedlock.
He said, and I will judge thee as woman that break wedlock. Go ahead.
And shed blood are judged. And I will give the blood in fury and jealousy.
Because he said, I will judge thee as women that break wedlock, because the judgment for that is death. So when you read in this chapter, this is talking about the people that committed idolatry. He said, I will judge you as women that break wedlock. Women that break wedlock is she laid down with someone other than her husband. That's why I say break wedlock. So let's look at when a man break wedlock. Go to Sirach 23. Let's look at when a man breaks wedlock. Sirach 23, verse 17.
Sirach chapter 23 and verse 17. All bread is sweet to a whoremonger. He will not leave off till he dies.
So every woman is fair game to a whoremonger. Married or not. All women is fair game to a whoremonger. He said he will not leave him alone till he die. Verse 18.
A man that breaketh wedlock, saying thus in his heart.
He said a man that breaketh wedlock is saying this in his heart.
Who seeth me? I am compassed about with darkness. The walls cover me, and nobody seeth me. What need I to fear? The Most High will not remember my sins.
He said, ain't nobody seeing me and this man's wife. Let's prove that it's talking about a married woman. Jump to verse 21.
Verse 21. This man shall be punished in the streets of the city.
He said, this man is going to be punished in the streets of the city. He going to be punished, meaning he's going to be stoned to death. Because this is not talking about a single woman. The punishment for laying down with a single woman is not death. The punishment is death when you lay down with a married woman. He said, this man shall be punished in the street. Go ahead.
This man shall be punished in the street of the city, and where he suspected not, he shall be taken.
Now watch what it say about the wife, the woman that he laid down with, verse 22.
Thus shall it go also with the wife.
So it say, thus the wife is also going to be punished in the street. So the woman so when it say a man breaketh wedlock, he's talking about he broke the wedlock of another marriage. Not his marriage, he broke the wedlock of another marriage. So this is the understanding of adultery. That is always against men. Read 22 again.
Thus shall it go also with the wife that leaveth her husband, and bringeth in an heir by another.
It's saying, so this man, this wife, or this woman he laid down with was married to another man. And she brought in, and she, not only did she commit adultery, she had a child with this man. Verse 23.
For first she hath disobeyed the law of the Most High, and secondly she hath trespassed against her own husband, and thirdly she hath played the whore.
She did what?
She hath played the whore.
She hath played the whore in what?
In adultery.
She played the whore in adultery. That's why above it said whoremonger. Whoremonger. It's even some people that believe in multiple wives that a whoremonger is not a man that sleep with multiple women. That is that's a harlot. So it said she played the whore adultery, guard,
and brought children by another man.
And brought children by another man. And she was married. So when it said a woman break wedlock, she laid down with somebody and she was married. When a man break wedlock, he laid down with another man's wife. This is the understanding of adultery. That is key. The reason why we went over these scriptures, because a lot of people they try to explain multiple wives without understanding adultery fully. Let's keep it moving. Go to Mark chapter 10. So first thing we got, understanding adultery. Understanding that adultery is always against the man. When you have that foundation, when you have that understanding that adultery is always against the man, now you can explain multiple wives. Now you can explain multiple wives. Mark 10, let me look at it. Read verse 2.
Mark chapter 10 and verse 2. And the Pharisees came to him and asked him, is it lawful for a man to put away his wife? Tempting.
So they was tempting him, verse 3.
And he answered and said unto them, what did Moses command you? And they said, Moses suffered to write a bill of divorcement to put her away.
So it say Moses allowed us to put her away. Verse 5.
And Jesus answered and said unto them, for the hardness of your heart he wrote you this precept.
He said, for the hardness of your heart is why he gave you out this law. Verse 6.
But from the beginning of the creation of God made them male and female.
Jump to 9.
Verse 9. What therefore God hath joined together, that no man put asunder.
So no man can divide what God put together. Watch the disciples, verse 10.
And in the house his disciples asked him again of the same matter.
So the disciples, remember, the disciples was always had to get clarity on what Christ was teaching. So before we read verse 11, let's read verse 12. Read verse 12.
In verse 12. And if a woman shall put away her husband, and be married to another, she committed adultery.
It said, if a woman shall put away her husband and be married to another, she committed adultery. Now that's easy to understand. Based on the law of adultery, verse 12 is easy to understand. Because a woman is only allowed to what? Have one husband. So if she puts away her husband unlawfully and marry another, she's committing adultery. Now verse 12, nobody has a problem with verse 12 because verse 12 fits the narrative of adultery. Verse 12 fits the narrative of the scriptures we just read about adultery. It's always against the husband. Now what about verse 11? Verse 11 is the killer. Verse 11.
Verse 11. And he said unto them, whosoever shall put away his wife and marry another, commit adultery against her.
Now we get to Christ. And we have the first instance of the wife getting adultery against her. A man is committing adultery against his own wife. We have the first, because it said against her, meaning his wife. This man committed adultery against his wife. Now we see a difference or another meaning of adultery right here. Now we see Christ is giving us another understanding of adultery. And one thing about this right here, is that the only thing you have to ask a person that believes in multiple wives is, why is this adultery in verse 11? Why is this adultery in verse 11? Because what do you hear? We hear that, well, that's if I put away my wife and marry another one. But if I wanted to keep my wife and marry another one, I can do that. But they never explain how this is adultery against the woman. You know why? Read, hold this spot, go to 2 Timothy 3. That's the key. Mark 10 and 11 is the key. Because all you have to do is have them explain, why is that adultery? Because I've been searching. I even asked people who believe in multiple wives. No one explains why that is adultery. No one. No one explains why that's adultery. Let's see why. 2 Timothy 3 and 13.
2 Timothy chapter 3 and verse 13. But evil men and seducers shall wax worse and worse.
They say they are seducers. They go wax worse and worse. Go ahead.
Deceiving and being deceived.
They say deceiving and being deceived. Deceiving and being deceived. When you been deceived and wax worse, that means you get deceived and you been deceived. It say evil men and seducers, they get worse and worse. Cause that's when they say when the evil spirit leave a man, he come back with more. That's why they wax worse and worse. Because you can't tell me these same brothers, go to Revelation 12. These same brothers can break down. You will see these same brothers doing amazing breakdowns on scriptures. Amazing breakdowns. But when it comes, if you just ask them that simple question, why is that adultery in Mark chapter 10 verse 11? They never break that down. Read Revelation 12 verse 3.
Revelation chapter 12 and verse 3. And there appeared another wonder in heaven, and behold, a great red dragon,
Go ahead.
having seven heads and 10 horns, and 7 crowns upon his head.
Why did we read that scripture? We read that scripture because these same brothers that won't explain or break down Mark 10 and 11, they can break this down with no problem. They can tell you who the dragon is. They can tell you what nation is the 7 crowns. They can tell you what the 10 horns is. They can tell you what the crown. They can break this down with no problem. And that's a sign for all these people online, or whoever's watching this right now, whoever listening to this, that's a sign. If these men can do immaculate breakdowns on scriptures that's talking about a dragon, 7 crowns, 10 horns, but they can't break down why Mark chapter 10 and 11 is adultery, that's on purpose. That's on purpose. And we know all these brothers have all these breakdowns on scriptures that are vague. But when they can't break down what adultery is in Mark chapter 10 and 11, that's a sign. And I'm just telling y'all that, going over that, because that's when it's a reason why they're doing that. And let's go back to Mark 10. Let's look at the reason. These brothers can do immaculate breakdowns. But when they get to Mark 10 and 11, the dudes, man, they said that's only if you put her away. That's only if you put her away it's adultery. But if I have a wife and I just want to get a second wife, I can do that. You're not explaining why it's adultery though. When adultery was never against a woman. Read it again, Mark 10 and 11.
Mark chapter 10 and verse 11. And he said unto them, Whosoever shall put away his wife.
Put away his wife means divorce. You divorced her
and marry another.
So you divorced her not for the reason of fornication, but you divorced her for another reason. Go ahead.
Commit adultery against her.
You commit adultery against her. So that means that the divorce is what? Unlawful. You didn't put that woman away lawfully. You put that woman away unlawfully. Which means what? You still married. It don't got nothing to do with the divorce. It's not adultery because you wanted to get a divorce. It's not adultery because the man or the woman wanted to get a divorce and y'all just didn't do it right. It's adultery because what? You're still married. So if you can't marry somebody else when you still married, guess what? You can't have multiple wives. It's not the fact that they wanted to get a divorce. That has nothing to do with it. It's the fact that the man married somebody else when he was still married. Adultery is, for anything to be adultery, it's 2 people that lay down. One of them has to be married. 2 people laying down is not adultery. Because nobody's married. If 2 single people, excuse me. If 2 single people lay down, that's not adultery. That's fornication. But 2 people that's laying down and one of them is married, that's adultery. So the reason they don't break that down is for that exact reason. If you break down why this is adultery in Mark chapter 10 and 11, the only answer is the man was still married. It was a illegal divorce. Christ said, no, you can't do that. Go to Matthew 19. Matter of fact, yeah, go to Matthew 5. Matthew 5. And read 32 again.
Matthew chapter 5 and verse 32. But I say unto you, that whosoever shall put away his wife, saving for the cause of fornication.
It said, you have, if whoever put away his wife, except for the cause of fornication, go ahead.
Causes her to commit adultery.
Because the divorce wasn't lawful. Now you have to listen to Christ. Because it said, remember, Moses said, whoever don't listen to this prophet will be destroyed. So Christ is letting us know, look, if you want to marry another woman, you have to do what? Have a lawful divorce. If you have an unlawful divorce and marry somebody else, it's adultery because why? You're still married. That's what makes it adultery. There's no great mystery in that scripture. There is no big parable in that scripture. It's clear. You can't marry somebody when you still married. It's clear. Go to 1 Corinthians 7. Because it said, except for the cause of well, finish that off.
But I say unto you, that whosoever shall put away his wife, save for the cause of fornication, causes her to commit adultery. And whosoever shall marry her that is divorced, commit adultery.
It said, whosoever that marry her commit adultery. Why? Because she's still married. Now go to 1 Corinthians 7. They will never break that down, because if they do break it down, it exposes the lie. It exposes. Is letting you know that, nigga, you can't marry somebody else when you still married. It's adultery. That's the sin. Adultery. If you marry somebody else when you still married, adultery against your wife. There is no great mystery in that scripture. But it's seducers. Evil men. They think that King David reincarnated Solomon. They did it and they was righteous. Abraham did it, they was righteous.
You know what's funny? They don't even look at the spirit that actually put over Solomon and David.
Exactly.
They don't look at what Solomon and David went through, having that spirit over them, having that many wives.
Yeah, what David did to Uriah.
Exactly. Solomon had 700 wives. Couldn't get enough.
Yeah, he was in sin for Deuteronomy 17 and 17.
Yeah.
A king cannot multiply wives to himself. So back then they was able to have multiple wives, but he went overboard. He went overboard.
Man.
Go to what I say, 1 Corinthians 7 and 2.
1 Corinthians chapter 7 and verse 2. Nevertheless, to avoid fornication, let every man have his own wife.
It's like what?
Nevertheless, to avoid fornication, let every man have his own wife, and let every woman have her own husband.
So this is what it was saying back in Matthew 19 and 9 and Mark 10 and 11. It said, don't get divorced except it be for fornication. Or if you marry, if you get an unlawful divorce and marry somebody else, that's fornication. What fornication, what umbrella of fornication was it? Adultery. So when Paul wrote this here, what is he talking about? He's talking about adultery right here. So it say, for us to avoid fornication, let every man have his own wife, every woman have her own husband. When they say every man have his own wife, our brothers that say multiple wives, they understand that part. Like, hey, I'm not sharing my wife with nobody else. But when they say every woman have her own husband, oh, that's something else. That's a many to one relationship. But let's see what Paul was talking about when he said, why did he say avoid fornication? Go to chapter 5. This is why Paul said avoid fornication. Well, hold that spot. Go to Matthew 19. Now we want to hear Matthew 19. Matthew 19 and 9.
Matthew chapter 19 and verse 9. And I say unto you, whosoever shall put away his wife, except be for fornication, and shall marry another, commit adultery. And whosoever married her, which is put away, doth commit adultery.
Do commit adultery. So here it said, except it be for fornication. You can't put away your wife except it be for fornication, meaning adultery. Meaning adultery. Let's prove that that's what Paul was talking about. Now go back to 1 Corinthians 5. Because Paul, he was dealing with the church of Corinth. They was in the midst of adultery. So what Paul did, Paul gave them Christ's understanding. Paul gave them the understanding that Christ just said in in Mark 10 and 11, and Matthew 19 and 9. This is the understanding that Paul's going to give them. Now read 1 Corinthians 5 verse 1.
1 Corinthians chapter 5 and verse 1. It is reported commonly that there is fornication among you.
It is reported, I'm hearing accounts that is fornication among y'all. At the church of Corinth, I'm hearing that it's fornication among y'all. Let's see what type of fornication. Go ahead.
And such fornication as is not so much as named among the Gentiles, that one should have his father's wife.
They was taking a father's wife, which is what? Adultery. So this is talking about adultery. Chapters 5, 6, and 7 is talking about adultery. It's talking about fornication, but a specific type of fornication. What type of fornication? Adultery. Now watch what Paul go give them the same understanding that Christ just gave us in Mark chapter 10. Go to verse 10.
Verse 10. Yet not altogether with the fornicators of this world, or with
read verse 9.
Verse 9. I wrote unto you in an epistle not to company with fornicators.
He said, I wrote to you not to keep company with fornicators, meaning adulterers. Because this is the topic in this chapter. He's talking about men that was committing adultery. He said, don't have company with people in adultery. Go ahead.
Yet not altogether with the fornicators of this world, or with the covetous, or extortioners, or with idolaters. For then must ye needs go out of this world.
Verse 11.
But now I have written unto you not to keep company if any man that is called a brother be a fornicator, or covetous, or an idolater, or a railer, or a drunkard, or an extortioner. With such and one know not to eat.
They say no not to eat. He say don't keep company with these fornicators, idolaters, drunkards, extortioners. Don't fellowship with them. Verse 12.
For what have I to do to judge them also that are without? Do not ye judge them that are within?
He said, why I'm going to judge them that are outside of the church? we judge them that are within. But these adulterers, these people, we putting them out. And you ain't supposed to be keeping company with them. And we ain't gonna judge them. Why? Verse 13.
But them that are without God judges therefore.
Because God gonna judge them. The ones that's outside of us, God gonna judge them. And who is this talking about? The ones in fornication of adultery. We read in verse 1. That's what he was talking about. Go ahead.
Therefore, put away from among yourselves that wicked
It
person.
said, put away from among yourselves that wicked person. So now when you go over to chapter 6, it's still talking about the fornicators. Go to chapter 6, verse 15.
1 Corinthians chapter 6 and verse 15.
Hold this spot. Go to Galatians 1. Because we read what Christ said. Christ said, look, if a man put away his wife and marry another, he commit adultery against his wife. Same thing for the woman. And he said, why? From the beginning it was not so. You weren't able to put away your wife for any old thing. So where did Paul get this understanding? Galatians 1. Let me look at it. Let's see where Paul got his understanding. Galatians 1 and 11.
Galatians chapter 1 and verse 11. But I certify you, brethren, that the gospel which was preached of me is not after me.
So,
after man.
Not after man. So he said, the gospel that I preach didn't come from man. Go ahead.
For I neither received it of man.
I didn't receive, because remember, Christ came directly to Paul. He came directly to Paul and taught him the gospel. He said, read that again, verse 12.
For I neither received it of man, neither was I taught
He
it,
said, I wasn't taught it by man. Go ahead.
but by the revelation of Jesus Christ.
But by the revelation of Christ, Christ revealed himself to me and taught me the gospel. So now, when what we reading in go back to 1 Corinthians 6, what we reading in 1 Corinthians 6 is the same thing Christ told the disciples in Mark 10 and Matthew 19. 1 Corinthians 6 and 15.
1 Corinthians chapter 6 and verse 15. Know ye not that your bodies are the members of Christ? Shall I then take the members of Christ and make them the members of a harlot? God forbid.
Remember, this is talking about the fornication, because remember, a woman, that adulterous woman that do that, she is known as a harlot. We read that in Sirach 23. It says she played the whore in adultery. So a woman who do that is a hoe, is a harlot. So this is what he's talking about in chapter 5, 6, and 7. He's talking about women with husbands and they sleeping with, laying down with men. And then he's talking about men sleeping with other men's wives. This is the subject matter. So he said, read that again, verse 15.
1 Corinthians 6 and 15. Know ye not that your bodies are the members of Christ? Shall I then take the members of Christ and make them the members of an harlot? God forbid.
He said, nah, go ahead.
What? Know ye not that he which is joined to a harlot is one body?
It said, he that is joined to a harlot is one body. Go ahead.
For two, said he, shall be one flesh.
So, because two gonna be one flesh. Remember, this is the same thing that Christ was saying in Mark 10 and Matthew 19. Hold this spot. Let's prove it. Hold this spot, because we coming right back. Go to Mark 10. Say two shall be one flesh. So he's getting this doctrine directly from Christ. Mark 10, what is it? 8. Yeah, Mark 10 and 8.
Mark chapter 10 and verse 8. And they twain shall be one flesh. So then they are no more twain, but one flesh.
You see that? So he's talking about fornication and adultery, but he's saying the same thing that Christ is saying in Mark chapter 10 and Matthew chapter 19. Go back to 1 Corinthians. Remember, he said, I learned this gospel directly from Christ. No man taught me this. I learned this directly from Christ. 1 Corinthians 6 and 18 now.
1 Corinthians chapter
read 17 again.
And verse 17. But he that is joined unto the Lord is one spirit. Flee fornication.
Hold on. Read
you want 16?
Yeah, 16.
What? Know ye not that he which is joined to a harlot is one body? For two, said he, shall be one flesh.
So you see, Paul is bringing up the same thing that Christ is talking about in Mark 10 and Matthew 19. Go ahead.
But he that is joined unto the Lord is one spirit.
So it's different. When you join into the Lord, you one spirit. When you married, you one flesh. Go ahead.
Flee fornication.
So now he's saying flee fornication, flee adultery. Go ahead.
Every sin that a man doeth is without the body, but he that committeth fornication sinneth against his own body.
Sin against his own body. Now go to chapter 7, verse 2. So now we come back to 7 verse 2. So now we got an understanding that he's talking about a man sleeping with another man's wife and a woman cheating on her husband in fornication and adultery. So now we got an understanding of verse 2. Read verse 2.
1 Corinthians chapter 7 and verse 2. Nevertheless, to avoid fornication, let every man have his own wife, and let every woman have her own husband.
That's a one-to-one relationship. A one-to-one relationship. To avoid fornication, to avoid y'all committing adultery. Every man, you get your own wife. Every woman, you get your own husband. This is where he got that from. He got that from Christ. That's what Christ was saying in Mark 10 and 11. And if you get a divorce, your divorce has to be lawful if you want to marry somebody else. But you can only have a lawful divorce if your partner commit adultery. You can't marry somebody if you don't have a lawful divorce. Why? Because you're still married. Now, I done heard somebody try to break verse 2 down. Verse 2, they say, well, read verse 6. This is how they explain verse 2. They use verse 6. Jump to verse 6.
1 Corinthians 7.
Yeah.
1 Corinthians 7 and verse 6. But I speak this by permission, and not of commandment.
They say, see, that's not a commandment. This is just Paul's advice.
They just jump over verse 4.
And
3.
They jump over 3 and 4 and 5, and they say that's not a commandment. This is just Paul. He said this is him speaking his own words.
That's twisted.
But Paul, he finna tell you what he's speaking his own words. Read verse 7. This is what he's talking about. This is what he said, I'm speaking by permission. Verse 7.
Verse 7. For I would that all men were even as myself.
He said that's what he's talking about, because Paul wasn't married. He said, I'm going to say something by permission and not by commandment. If it was up to me, I think all men shouldn't even be married. That's what he was speaking by permission. But that's not a law. He said, hey, that's what works out for me. I'm not married. So read 6 and 7 together. And when you see it together, it shows that when he was speaking by permission, is 6, 7, and 8. Go ahead, read it again.
But I speak this by permission, and not commandment.
So he said, what I'm finna say is not by commandment. Not what I said in verse 2, but what I'm finna say is not a commandment. Go ahead.
For I would that all men were even as myself, but every man hath his proper gift of God, one after this manner, and another after that.
Go ahead.
I say therefore to the unmarried and widows, it is good for them if they abide even as I.
He said, it's good if y'all abide like me. Don't get married. I'm speaking to the unmarried and to the widows. Be like me. Don't. This is what he was speaking by permission. Verse 9.
But if they cannot contain,
But if you cannot contain, go ahead.
let them marry. For it is better to marry than to burn.
Then to burn. So that's what he was speaking by permission, and it's not a commandment. Now he finna tell you, what I'm finna tell you now is from God. Read verse 10.
And unto the married I command, yet not I, but the Lord.
So now he telling you, okay, now this what I'm finna tell you is not from me, this from the Lord. Go ahead.
Let not the wife depart from her husband.
So now he's letting us know. So in verse 2, that wasn't his own. From 6 to 9, he let you know, this is my own words right here. This is my own counsel. So it's like they be desperate, man. These multiple wives brothers, they be desperate.
You know what they say, man. Not everybody got business in Paul's letters. We ain't got no business. That's actually scripture.
Right, they don't have no business. Go to 1 Timothy 3. 1 Timothy chapter 3. It's not hard. That Mark 10 and 11 is not hard to understand. You can't unlawfully divorce somebody and marry somebody else. Why? It's adultery. Why is it adultery? Because you're still married. That's not a big parable. That's not a big thing to where I gotta say, these brothers that say, well, if you think about it, just think about it though. That mean they can hate their wife. They hate their wife, but they know they can't divorce her. They hate their wife, so I'm just gonna go marry somebody else. I can't divorce you because Christ said I can't divorce you. But we can have multiple wives, so I'm just gonna marry somebody else. That's still the hardness of your heart, right? Because Christ said that Moses allowed y'all to get divorced for anything for the hardness of your heart.
Stubbornness.
Right. For the stubbornness of your heart. So now the brothers, since Christ said that, now is, well, I hate you, B. I'm gonna give me enough. I'm just gonna marry somebody else. I can't divorce you. So now you got a woman that's hated and a woman that's loved in your house. One you can't stand, you really want to divorce her, but I'm just gonna marry somebody else. No, that's not what Christ was saying there. He said, no, I can't marry somebody else. I didn't put her away. I can marry somebody else. I didn't put her away. No, that's not what makes it adultery, man. What makes it adultery is you marry somebody else because you were still married. That's what it's like. Brothers they turn simple-minded on that scripture. They can break down the dragon, the 7 horns. They can tell you who the 7 crowns are. Oh, that's this nation. That's this nation. That's the 7 crowns represent. But when they get to Mark 10 and 11, they go dumb. Say what? The wrong. Say they sticking with the wrong head. They think. They think. That's crazy, man. It's not no big mystery. It's not a big mystery in that scripture on why. All you got to do is ask them, why is it adultery? That's it. And watch how simple they turn. It's adultery because Christ said it was. That's one reason. But how is it adultery? How is that adultery? Because it's an unlawful divorce. It's an unlawful divorce. So you can't marry somebody if you have an unlawful divorce. Why? Because you're still married. It's that easy, man. Oh yeah, 1 Timothy 3. So now we're going to talk about the leaders. 1 Timothy 3 and 1.
1 Timothy chapter 3 and verse 1. This is a true saying. If a man desires the office of a bishop, he desires a good work.
Now let's get with the semantics they play here. Because we know men that's head of congregations that have multiple wives. And their excuse was, well, I don't call myself a bishop. My title is not bishop. But do that scripture say title? What do the scriptures say? Read it again.
This is a true saying. If a man desires the office,
the title.
This is a true saying. If a man desires the office,
if a man desires the office, the job of what?
Of a bishop.
Of a bishop, he do what?
He desired a good work.
He desired a good work. So it's not. It has nothing to do with the title. It's the job. It's the work that you do. If you're doing the work of a bishop, you have to be this. Verse 2.
A bishop then must be blameless.
You must be blameless. Nobody can accuse you of any fault. And what else?
The husband of one wife.
The husband of one. That is clear. There is no way around it. You can't say, well, I don't call myself a bishop, man. No, it's the office of a bishop, the job of a bishop, the work of a bishop, not the title. The scripture don't say nothing about a title.
And your congregation looks at you as the leader. And that goes back into the blameless part. They look at you as a leader, so you out here being what's that word? A stumbling block.
A stumbling block. You got 4 wives and talk about this scripture don't apply to you because you don't call yourself a bishop. You're making all the decisions for the congregation. You up there teaching. You're doing all the work of a bishop. But because you don't call yourself a bishop, oh, this scripture don't apply to me. I can have multiple wives because my title is now bishop. Our brothers get simple. And then they go right to Revelation 12 and explain the dragon, the 7 crowns. Revelation and Genesis is the hardest, 2 of the hardest books in the Bible. They can break them down with ease, but they get so simple-minded when it comes to the one wife. They say, kids say the darndest things. That's how they become. They say the darndest things when they trying to explain that Mark 10 and this scripture here. Read verse 2 again.
Verse 2. A bishop then must be blameless, the husband of one wife, vigilant, sober, of good behavior, given to hospitality, apt to teach.
Jump to verse 8.
Verse 8. Likewise, must the deacon be grave, not double-tongued, not given to much wine, not greedy of filthy lucre, holding the mastery of the faith in a pure conscience. And let these also first be proved.
It say, let them first be proved. Go ahead.
Then let them use the office.
No, the title.
The office of a deacon, being found blameless.
Being found blameless. Go ahead.
Even so must their wives be grave, not slanderers, sober, faithful in all things. Let the deacons be the husbands of one wife.
Let the deacons be the husbands of one wife. Go ahead.
Ruling their children in their own house.
Now, these brothers get so slick. They start to say, when they say the husband of one wife, it's talking about the husband of one doctrine. They say, oh, this talking about just one doctrine. Like you can't be in many doctrines and be a deacon. Brother, read verse 12 again.
Let the deacons be the husband of one wife, ruling their children and their own house well.
It's talking about your house. Household.
Can I get a script real quick?
Yeah.
They get Proverbs 18 and 2, because that was the most I call them. They call them, Solomon called them fools. That's a fool. Proverbs 18 and 1.
Proverbs chapter 18 verse 1. To desire a man having separated himself,
Yeah, go ahead, get that.
seeketh and intermarrieth with all wisdom.
So, yeah, verse 2.
A fool have no delight in understanding.
Most I call them fools. They ain't got no delight in understanding. They all off. Go ahead.
But that his heart may discover itself.
So that their hearts can discover itself, the things that they want. They twist the laws so that they twist the scripture and the laws and the words so that they can have what they want. They twist so they can have what they want.
What they want. It's crazy. I don't call myself a bishop, brother. It don't say title, man. It don't say title. So the precept is Titus 1 and 5. Let's hit that real quick. Let's just hit it for two witnesses' sake.
We got Titus
Chapter 1 verse 5.
Titus chapter 1 and verse 5. For this cause left I thee in Crete, that thou shouldest set in order the things that are wanting.
He says, set in order the things that are lacking. This is the church being set up. Go ahead.
And ordain elders in every city, as I had appointed thee.
Go ahead.
If any be blameless, the husband of one wife, having faithful children, not accused of a riot or unruly.
So it said, I want you to set elders in every city. And this is the criteria of to be over the congregation. The first two is blameless and husband of one wife. Husband of one wife is the second one in both precepts. Verse 7.
For a bishop must be blameless as the steward of God, not self-willed, not soon angry, not given to wine, no striker, not given to filthy lucre.
Go ahead.
But a lover of hospitality, a lover of good men, sober, just, holy, temperate.
So for our brothers and sisters that's out here in these congregations and you under a man with multiple wives and he doing the work of a bishop, the work of a deacon, you out of order. You that choose to be under somebody like that, you out of order. Because that man is foolish. First of all, he don't meet the criteria. Just the simple criteria. That's the simple criteria. The rest we know people have to work on, which comes with experience. That person has to be a brother first, then he work his way up to the elder. Go to Sirach 4. Let's show people why they in error for being under men that don't fit the criteria of being an elder. Sirach chapter 4. This is what makes you in error. Sirach chapter 4, verse 27.
Sirach chapter 4 and verse 27. Make not thyself an underling to a foolish man.
Read that again.
Make not thyself an underling to a foolish man.
It say, don't make yourself an underling unto a foolish man. Especially if you read the criteria. The criteria is in the Bible. All you have to say to yourself, okay, is this man not self-willed? Is he not soon angry? Is he not a drunk? Is he no striker? Is he not out here doing this to get rich? Is he the husband of one wife? The criteria is in the Bible. And if that person don't fit that this criteria, and you say, you know what, I'm under you, then it say, don't make yourself an underling to a foolish man. You off. Read it again, verse 27.
Verse 27. Make not thyself an underling to a foolish man.
Go ahead.
Neither accept the person of the mighty.
Let's hit that first. Neither accept the persons of the mighty. Get that in what's good? 42 and 1. Ain't that it? 42 and 1. So rock 42 and 1.
Sirach chapter 42 and verse 1. Of these things be thou not ashamed, and accept no person to sin thereby.
I say, don't accept no person to sin thereby. You letting this man sin right in front of you, and there this man is committing adultery, and you gonna say, I'm gonna be under you. He's foolish. Let's get foolish. Go to chapter 23, Sirach 23 and 8.
Sirach chapter 23 and verse 8. The sinner shall be left in his foolishness.
It say what?
The sinner shall be left in his foolishness.
It say, don't make yourself an underling to a foolish man. Why? Because he gonna be left in his foolishness. He's not going nowhere unless he repent. It's like the sinner gonna be left in his foolishness. Go ahead.
Both the evil speaker and the proud shall fall thereby.
It's like the evil speaker and the proud, because that's what a sinner is. Full of pride. Pride is the beginning of sin. They won't accept that Christ said you can't marry somebody else until you get a lawful divorce. They won't accept that you can't be a bishop unless you're the husband of one wife. You can't be over a congregation unless you're the husband of one wife. They won't accept that. I'm going to do what I want to do. I'm going to still start a congregation. I'm going to still be over a man, even though I'm caught up in adultery. Can't do that. Let's get one more for fools. Go to Psalm 73. Psalm 73 and 3.
Psalm chapter 73 and verse 3. For I was envious at the foolish.
He said, I was envious at the foolish. Watch what he called the foolish.
When I saw the prosperity of the wicked.
The foolish is wicked. Don't make yourself an underling to a wicked, foolish man. They can't even see, they refuse, and you can't tell me they can do all these other breakdowns, but they can't explain why that's fornication. I mean, they can't explain why that's adultery. It don't make any sense. That's because they want it. They want the multiple hoes. They want them. So they go be blind to it. They go give a blind eye. Say something.
Yeah, let's get First Timothy 6 and 1. Let's touch on exactly what I was just saying. As far as the servants go, as far as those under the leadership go.
1 Timothy chapter 6 verse 1. Let as many servants as are under the yoke count their own masters worthy of all honor.
So you have to prove your leaders. You have to prove your masters. Go ahead.
That the name of God and his doctrine be not blasphemed.
That the name of God be not blasphemed. Everything you just read. Well, he gave it to you right there. That his name be not blasphemed. You gotta prove these people. If your master, if your leader got multiple wives, your congregation's out of order. You gotta get from under them. You see your leader in any kind of sin, and they stand in it, you gotta get from under them.